Hi there, back with a few more YouTube questions to answer. And I've got a pretty interesting one here, a little bit dangerous one as well, from Brusty11, asking about the technique to slide. Basically, that's his question, as I understand it. And Brusty had the poster taken from the Limit Is Yours video that I did a few years ago. That's on YouTube. If you look up Moto Voodoo, The Limit Is Yours. Basically, it's a big slide, and I thought, why not, Rusty? I'll answer what it's in the Moto Voodoo original book in words, like described exactly what I do, but I'll have a go on the video here. I think there's a bit of preparation to do before we get into the slide itself, how to do it, and that is, I'd like to throw out there, the easiest way to do a wheelie is to have big horsepower, as long as you've got a good throttle response on that engine. Big horsepower, the more horsepower you got, the easier a wheelie is, because it can come down and you've always got enough power to balance it even below balancing point, rather than a really underpowered bike where you've got to top it along, because it hasn't got enough power to keep it up otherwise. Similar slides, the more power you've got and the lower grip you've got, the easier the slide is. Like, I'm not saying damp conditions, that's lethal because it's changing, it's not a consistent grip area. But for example, wets, when it's drying out, it's a doddle, there's no grip, so there's too much power, so the things like chewing gum. For example, a worn out tyre, that's what you want to do a slide on, a tyre that's in its last third or quarter of life. You don't want a brand new, unless you've got bad tyres and maybe too much tyre pressure and huge power. So once you can know that, there's another little bit I should throw in there is RPM. You need the RPM high, because if you try to do a slide with low RPM, when that tyre goes around, the engine has got so much RPM left. If it slides a little bit out of control, you've got a big chance of the engine going and building a lot, coming way out too quickly to control, and then launching you. And I first got that pointed out to me by the legend himself, Mick Doohan. We were cycling. I'd been riding World Super bikes for years, but we were out cycling, and I'm like, I'm off to Phillip Island, so we're not coming training tomorrow. And for my first test on the 500, so I was going to be a competitor of his that upcoming year. And he said, right, and he was good enough to say to me, so they are really easy to high side, and those big long corners at Phillip Island, really easy to do it on. So over everything, if you try to get on the throttle and there's a few thousand RPM left, by the time you feel that it's let go, it's too late. Those little light crankshaft on the two strokes spin up so quickly before you can catch it with the throttle, this hand obviously, and you'll be full sideways before you've even shut it, So what he's saying is run it in close to the red through those turns, and if the rear lets go, it hits they don't have limiters, but it runs out of power and doesn't come around any further. And that was such good advice, because on the two strokes, they are so difficult to control that rear. There's no traction control, but with the little light cranks, big horsepower, they're lethal in that area. So huge thanks to Mick for saving my collarbones by pointing that out. And really, I want to share that with you on the four strokes. The four strokes are a doddle in comparison. The big wide power, and they don't leap as quick, But if you use those same rules, get it close to the red, it hasn't got much left, then when you're doing that slide, it only goes out a certain angle before it runs out of power, and then it just stays there. And it's exactly the same as a two-stroke, although it's easier on the four-stroke, but it's the same rules. So next is, we are going to try and get like this. So that slide was Almeria bike promotion, had the circuit, Thomas and Michael allowed me to have the lunch hour. The circuit agreed. Thank you, David Garcia. And we quickly, as soon as the track was closed, got the camera guys out on the outside of the turn. I know that's a bit dodgy for them. They were up for it. They trusted me. And then I went out there, got warmed up, made sure I had a rear tyre on that is not famous for its drive grip, so more easy to light up, because I had a stock bike. Well, I'm talking stock everything, and that is not enough power to spin up the best. For example, Dunlops at the time, that I still use them now. They had too much drive area grip to spin, to slide. So I put one of the other brands on, 2/3, 3/4 worn, a little bit more pressure than recommended. Then went out there round and round, got warmed up, and this is the sequence I use to do a slide, whenever I attempt it. And I don't do it. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's a big commitment. I don't recommend it, but here's how I do it. So lining up the drive area onto that back straight, I go out as always, on the throttle wide, close the throttle to turn back to get a run onto the back straight. And as I'm passing the apex, the paint area late in the turn, I actually opened the throttle fractionally earlier to keep it on that edge a little bit longer, and then I could feel it wriggling right on the edge grip. And you do not want to slide in that area, because the safety things to keep in mind to do a controlled slide are two main things: is the RPM, so the gear's right, you've only got a little bit of RPM left, 2 grand max, probably 1500, 2000 left. Then you do not want to be too leaned over, because the RPM controls the slide, but so does the angle. The more you over, the further out it's going to come before you can catch it. And so I want to use that big lean to get it start moving and wriggling, and I can feel where the grip is going, where it's going to let go. And then once I keep turning on that edge and wriggling with a fraction more corner speed, because I've opened it a little bit early. And then once I get it aimed where I can see a good drive area out to the outside where I'm not going to run off the track, then I, at the same time as holding myself maximum forward, because I want to be with that steering head and front wheel if it lets go, The dirt bikers and speedway guys will be able to tell you, I grew up off-road stuff. If you're sitting back, you have no control. You go with the rear. If you're sitting forward, you stay with the front. The rear does what it wants back there. It's not as scary, not as dangerous, more controllable. So now I've got it wriggling on a big angle, going past the paint, ready to go for that big. I can see the exit, see the camera guys out there, and then I hold myself forward. I put all of my weight I can on my feet, so my bum's only just touching the seat, and I go, at the same time as I start feeding it on so it wriggles, I pick it up, and I get it up, and and then wham, the last part. So it's probably only the last quarter or third throttle that I'm committing to. Just before that, I'm nervous, because I go, here we go, it could go wrong. And I go whack, and it goes rup, and it's because it's already wriggling. It then, as you come up, then it finishes off and it lights up, And then, because your RPM's not too high, it doesn't come out too far. Because you're not leaned over too far, it doesn't come out too far. And then you've got to control, and you're just hanging on, hoping it doesn't snap out. You can feel it. It feels a bit mushy, like a puncture feeling. And it's spinning. And the beautiful thing is as you're drifting away there, and it's feeling beautiful. And as the bike accelerates, it's getting up to the speed where the wheel starts to match, or the ground speed starts to match the wheel speed, and it just comes nicely back in. And as you'll see on the video, as it comes nicely back in, it actually finally gets some grip all of a sudden in the last bit and pops the front up, which is common, like on a race bike. All the racers on race big bikes would have felt the same thing for sure. It's nothing special when you get to World Championship level. All these boys can ride like this, but what a feeling! So now we've done the big slide. I want to tell you why I told you that I put all my feet on the pegs when I'm fully prepared and I'm about to commit. Um, is that I think the dirt bikers all know this one as well. If the rear lets go suddenly, uncontrollably, um, your legs extend quickly with that. It's like putting all your weight on something, and then as it lets go, your legs obviously automatically extend before you even plan it. And the good bit is your body does not go with the bike. Then the bike goes, your legs extend, and then when you go and close that throttle, when the tire grips, because you've closed the throttle, it comes back so violently it would have high sided you off. But instead of that, your legs just soak up that. Then maybe the bike hits you and pushes you a little bit, but it's enough to stay on. And I'm pretty glad that I did that, because I thought we've done a good slide, we've got the video one, but we've got enough time. Let's do one more. And of course, it almost got me. If I hadn't put my feet hard on the pegs, taking the weight off my bum, I'd have been. Got a question here for Mickey GTT, and he wants to know about traction control. He's got a 2017 GSXR 1000, like I ride, basically the same bike, and he wants to know, because he's been riding bikes without traction control and now has one, it's hard for him to trust, and how trustworthy are they? Can you rely on it? That's a really good question, because I've been through the same thing. Once I got on that bike, it was the first bike I owned with traction control, and in the beginning, it came and the traction control settings were quite high there, from 1 to 10. The higher you go on that number, the more traction control you've got. And I mean, they come, for example, 10, it's terrible. I can't ride it. You could put a monkey on there that just went like that and leaned over, and it's impossible. The bike won't let it go. And then so as you come down, from 5, the bike starts to go. And I would say from 4, then it really starts to boogie. But you can still notice, for example, Aragon, turn 1, 2, 3, exiting 3, you are forced at a fast corner to open the throttle at a big lean angle. And it doesn't feel like traction control to me. It feels like just it's restricting the bike. The computer understands that it's a dodgy combination: big lean angle, high speed, big throttle opening. I'm going whack, and it just doesn't let it do it. It goes, holds it back, and you lose acceleration. And so it's in these numbers, Mickey. It's really trustworthy. You can just go, But as soon as you come down, I ride mine in 1 all the time now. I recommend my fast guys to be on 2 or 3 as for the first sessions, and as they get going, pull it down. Why not 2 if they're really quick and confident, like sounds Mickey is? Then 1, go to 1, and 1 actually allows it to let go. And the cool thing is, it feels like you're riding without traction control. It does everything well, and then if you does it let go, if you do something wrong or the tire's too worn or whatever, it goes out a little bit, but it catches it, and it catches it before you do. It's great. It just goes, gives you a little scare, but saves you. So, thing is, then probably the best electronics I've used recently is on the Ducati V4R. I was really impressed with that, because you can't feel it interfering, and I don't like that feeling of interfering, especially anti-wheelie. I hate it. All the bikes I ride with anti-wheelie, I turn the anti-wheelie off, because all it's doing is slowing the bike down. And in that area, at lean angles, it worked very well. The BMW, I turn it off as low as possible. That I use on the GoPro the anti-wheelie right down, use it on -7 on traction control. And I gotta say, I was impressed with the BMW. It's not at the same level as that V4R, but when I rode the BMW at Argentina, the last time we were there for a GP, the track on the Thursday, because they don't use the track very often there, was filthy, and not their fault. It's just the European tracks. The other ones are rented every day. They're cleaner and got rubber down. So it's been a long time since that. I get out there. I'm the first one out there, and it was slippery. And this -7. I really liked it coming onto the back straight. They've got a chicane that you're forced to lean over on the right and open the throttle, that track. And it stepped out and just hung there. Went like a proper slide all the way out to the outside. And I was like, very cool. You can come out there and just hold it on the stop and let it do that lap after lap with that low grip. Yeah. So, Mickey, I think that's the way to get confidence on these things, is to run them a few steps higher than the minimum, and then until you're bumping into the control and you think, oh, I want it to go more than that, and then you pull it down, down, down until it feels like it's not holding you back at all.